Hello and welcome. My name is Camille Bradbury, and I am the Legal Content Specialist and Workflow Tech here at Bridge. We've got Jess Callery, Product Manager at Bridge, and Forrest Blount, CTO and co-founder of Bridge, on the call with us today. And we are talking about what our focus is for Q4 for the Bridge product. Tell us what you guys have been working on.
Thanks, Camille. Feel free to jump in, Jess, and take us through the roadmap that you put together.
For Q4, we are really focused on data and document management that play hand in hand with each other. A lot of the research we've done over the course of the last year since we rolled out some of the big improvements in that area have shown that everyone's super appreciative of the idea of having records that can be portable, that you can kind of see exactly what someone's working on, but they wanted even more. So in the grand style of being iterative and being fast, we keep iterating on it and adding more functionality. And so right now we're in the middle of a really big push to kind of take it up to the next level, to make it something that is really easy to, no matter who you are. If you're an employee who wants to find, hey, where was my copy of my latest passport? If you're an HR who wants to say, hey, I uploaded an org chart at one point, where is that? If you're an attorney who wants to see specific data, across a company, for a specific employee. If you're a law firm who's working with us, anybody who's doing it, they want to manage this data. They want to see it in different ways. They want to splice it, and taking it to that next level where the data is sort of independent, it's searchable, it's filterable, it's really easy to find. That's kind of the big push right now.
Yeah, I love that. I get so excited about seeing the roadmap get projected further out and further out since you've joined us last year. One thing I'd add to that, just to kind of extend the vision there, right, is when we originally built the Bridge collaboration platform, it was so transactional focused that all the data was contained inside of an individual application, right? So it was taking you through from the beginning of an H-1B application all the way through to the visa. And now, as we've gone more strategic and layered all the program management around the application, that's what's really pulling this data to live outside of the application, to live on the employee record, to live on their timeline, and to carry forward naturally to their projected applications or across the program guidelines that the company is setting. So that's really what's been pushing us and pulling us in that direction.
Yeah, and to kind of nerd out a little bit, it's kind of making the data agnostic. So it's not specific to this application. Mm-hmm. It's making it and saying this is a passport, and this is an image, and this is the data that's related to it. And no matter who you are or what you're looking for related to that, you can pull out the appropriate information. And you can really do really cool and exciting things in data management. If you're a data management nerd, that's exciting, because all of a sudden you can solve problems for people really quickly. Someone says, oh, I wish I could filter all this information, or I wish I could see all of the information about X, about all my employees across the whole company. And we can figure out solutions to do that super fast, when the data is structured and organized that way. And that's why we're investing so much time right now in making sure that that data management structure that underlies everything is powerful enough to solve problems quickly for people.
Yeah, that's such a difference from where law firms and traditional, immigration firms are coming from, right? We're in this document, physical paperwork, files, audits are a mess. If you get audited by USCIS, you're scrambling, and the time it takes to get all of that paperwork together versus just clicking a report or clicking a button to get that is transformational, I think, in the immigration space especially. Are you seeing that with law firms?
We see it with everyone, all the different users of our systems. Law firms specifically, there's a lot of data that they manage, from the application, but there's a lot of data from the company's perspective too that they're managing. And everybody wants to be able to find it quickly. They want to be able to see it, search it, filter it. We definitely have seen, as data has come on to our platform, whether it's a new company, it's a new law firm, whoever's working with us, we see the struggle of trying to put that data together in a meaningful way, and being able to put it together, even for themselves, to be able to know what's happening. And that's not a problem anyone who works on our platform really has in a meaningful way, because it is there. Right now, it's what we're trying to do is really take it to the next level. It's not even that baseline. I feel like we got that. We're solid. Like, you can get on our platform and people can find their data and they know what they're doing with it. It's just, there's exciting things you can do with that information. You can create, interesting ways to solve problems if that data is really easy to maneuver and manipulate, and for our developers to take it. And anytime someone says, hey, I wish, there was a way that every time an employee does X, or they were part of this department, or they're in this thing happened. Oh, okay, well, that gets easy to do, because we can look at their profile and say, oh, they're in this department. They have this, and this is their status, and they're about to max out. That means that we're going to create a report for those people. We can do that kind of solution quickly for customers, because that data is manipulatable. Is that a word, manipulable? Anyway, it's easy to manipulate. And so that's what kind of takes the power. That's the exciting thing that's happening.
Yeah, I think it's like today the data is there and we can do a lot of these things, but it requires like advanced mode or power mode. Someone on the development team might be assisting or arranging with some of the stuff. And at the other side of this big push, I think most of that functionality should become transparent and easy for any user to access, manipulate, and do all those great things that Jess was talking about. The other piece that I think, to get back to what you were talking about on the compliance side or the audit side, Camille, like today that compliance lives in spreadsheets. And so the successfulness of your program to survive an audit, respond to an audit in a timely fashion, so respond to an audit in a stress-free or reduced stress fashion, it's really based on whether or not a human being has correctly maintained a spreadsheet.
So with all that in mind, how did you guys arrive at developing these features? We talked about some challenges and some pain points. What went into all that?
Well, we've had some user groups, definitely been interviewing, talking to folks, doing surveys. The thread from the moment I started just about a year ago, and from the day I walked in the door, most of the folks who I talked to, whether they're any of the users that we work with, the data is the deep, meaningful thing that we're working with. So it's a lot of digging back and asking, okay, we have all this data. What are you trying to do with it? What are you trying to achieve? What is meaningful to you? And one of the things we kind of realized is that sort of being able to pull that document and that data out and being able to make it more agnostic was kind of the big thing to solve all these problems. In general, we're trying to make it also easier for people to fill the information out. There's a lot of information. When an employee has to fill out, their education history, their work history, all their immigration information, that's a lot of information. It's a lot for them. And so we're trying to make it easy, one, for them to provide the information, and then easy for the system to be able to display this information for other people to find and use.
And when Jess joined us last year, we were in, the last mile of our relaunch. And, the relaunch had a new brand and a new design and a bunch of other great stuff. But a big kernel of that relaunch was starting to build these more robust data objects that could be discrete and audited and used to more dynamically interact with our workflows on the platform. And so we started, or Jess started, really coming in with like the beginning stage of this concept, but has gotten now over the past year to really continue to build and expand and figure out all the great things that we can do with this concept. Now that we've got this concept introduced, what other data types, what other data objects should be added? How should they be more finely integrated with our workflows? And then how do they really deliver that amazing value to our clients?
And I think actually even the term workflows, like the application workflows, which is kind of this developer term, but like there's this whole concept of all these tasks that have to be done in order to get to the point that you file paperwork with USCIS. That the way that information flows into those workflows is really powerful. And I think it's one of the coolest things that that happened out of that relaunch when I first started, and seeing kind of how the power of what that can do to make those applications be so efficient, to be so light touch, to be so elegant, and to have a good user experience as you go through them and feel really good about it, and not have it be this, feel like a really dense process. And I think that that's something I'm super excited about. I don't think we're quite there yet, but that like getting there to that point where it just feels super light touch and elegant to have gone through an application process, like I think that's the really exciting goal.
Yeah, so let's break this down a little bit for the common user that doesn't know, right? We've got an application that's an H-1B. Okay, somebody gets on the platform and walk us through how this data management would go. They would fill out their data management in the platform. Does it transfer over to different? Talk about a use case scenario of how this would be.
You want to jump in here first? You want me to?
I think you should take them through your vision for the new onboarding, and really how we start by inviting a new user to Bridge and taking them through these concepts.
Okay, so the basic idea is that when a user, an employee joins the platform, they would have a profile, and they would be able to give us information about themselves and fill out records, identification records, and history about their education and their work. And then if there was an application, the application would be able to quickly be able to look at all of those records and all that information that the employee has provided us for their profile, and understand how it relates into the application. Do they have sufficient education as it relates to this application? Have they given us enough information about their education for this specific application? We can write all of that logic into the application process, so that really the only thing that the employee has to provide for that specific application is, hopefully a couple questions that are very specific to that application in addition to their profile. And that process starts to become very sort of hands-off once you filled out your profile. There's just, the basic information that is needed in addition. And in addition, it's easy for the attorney to look at the profile and make some initial reviews, initial understanding about, does this make sense? Is this the right thing to do? And give feedback and advice quickly without having to, wait for a lot of paperwork to flow through the system in order to get to that result. So
yeah,
are super elegant.
I love that. I love that vision, both for welcoming them and taking them through the onboarding piece, and then building on that. Most of that data, that profile that Jess is really extending and expanding, it isn't dependent on that application at all. This is the stuff that for that user is going to follow them the rest of their life in any country. So whether they stay in the US and continue to build on their US status, whether they travel to another country, this is the data: your passport, your previous application records, your work history, your education history. It's kind of universal truth. And so one of the ideas here is that, like, this profile then kind of becomes a calling card for any immigration attorney anywhere in the world to be able to look at your profile and sort of assess, what have you done? What are you qualified to do? And where can we go with you? Are we going to be able to get the type of visa that your employer is looking for next? Are you going to be able to pursue the family immigration options that you're ready to do next? Really, we're looking at this structure as a way to level up the entire immigration industry and kind of get some coherence across firm to firm. You shouldn't have to always be repopulating your education information just because your employer has switched immigration firms. That's kind of a ridiculous, antiquated idea.
Yeah, and I would think it also speaks to this global mobility piece, of being able to move around easily and transfer easily, and make this immigration not such of a manual, heavy lifting, strenuous process that many immigrants go through, or non-immigrants.
Yeah, well, and look at, in 2020 here, obviously, there've been many challenges, but a big part of it from an immigration program management side is how do you react, whether it's a change from the government or whether it's a change because everyone's working in different locations. How can you react to that change, make a request or pull an audit on your employees, and then decide how to adjust your immigration program? Whether that's getting new work locations and figuring out what you need to do to make sure those work locations are in compliance, or whether it's changing, if you've gone through layoffs as a company, changing your program management rules and having that reflect on what visa renewals or green card sponsorships you're actually going to be able to provide your team in the next 6 months while you continue to reassess the situation. Anyway, those are some of the things that we're enabling by pursuing this work.
Well, and I'm really hearing the transparency piece is so critical with this product. Transparency for the employer, transparency for the international employee coming over, that once that transparency piece is in play, the level of anxiety, just so to speak, is just greatly diminished in this process.
Yeah, I mean, it's a single source of truth, right? Right now, if you have an attorney or a law firm operating on one platform and maybe their own spreadsheet to manage things, and then you've got a global mobility manager or an HR team that's operating on another spreadsheet or possibly several spreadsheets, maybe an HRIS is in play as well. What is your single source of truth for your immigration program? How do you actually get in sync? And, obviously a lot of great HR teams have solved this problem, but all of the solutions are require a lot of effort to make sure that those things stay in sync. What Bridge is aspiring to be here is really the collaboration platform that can be the single source of truth for the HR team and their legal team.
So the employers and the attorneys have to come together on Bridge in order to, but yeah, can you talk about kind of the different users that are on Bridge? Say an employer came to you and wanted to use your services, they would have to use, the attorneys on the back end of that, of what Bridge had available. Is that kind of
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, and this is changing a bit at Bridge. So for the past several years, the main way of working with Bridge has been through our full service product. So if you wanted to use our technology, you would need to work with one of our partner law firms who are trained on the platform, have bought into kind of the first principles that the platform is organized on, have some of that support and training so that they have access to those power features. So part of what we get by following the roadmap that Jess is building out here is the flexibility to start to extend that to other firms. So we're developing a SaaS product for law firms or for companies to use individually that would allow them many of the same benefits of the program, allow the same transparency, the single source of truth, the data management and the application workflows, and give them a little bit more of that access for this to really start to become a standard that could be adopted across the industry. What would you add to that, Jess?
I was just going to say, I think the working with our, some of the SaaS folks we've been talking to and, and our full service folks, it's been interesting to see the synergy between the two, because a lot of what they want is the same thing. But it's been interesting because the other law firms come in and they're looking at the platform and they are like, oh, well, where's this document, or how do I find this? And it's like, it's really good to get that fresh perspective of somebody who hasn't been sort of in our world for so long, who's working kind of more what we would consider sort of on the back end processing of an application, and see, it's been interesting how really the big philosophical things that we're trying to touch, which is this document management, about the employee experience, they want the same things. There's not a lot of divergence between what our major user groups want, which from a product perspective is awesome. It's fantastic. It means that we can drive really strongly towards a goal that's going to make all of our our potential customers happy. It's going to make our roadmap sort of, we got a goal, we got a mountain we want to climb, and we can hit it, because everybody kind of wants the same thing, which is they want to be able to see information clearly, quickly. They want to be able to have a single source of truth. They want to know that it's maintained, that it's easy to maintain. They want to be able to come onto the platform, find what they're looking for quickly, move through the platform quickly, and come to good solutions. So that's the part I think has been the most exciting about having all the conversations with the SaaS law firms, is just seeing that it really did align really clearly with what we were already trying to do. And it wasn't like a big deviation, because anytime you're going after a potential new, user group, it's a possibility that they're going to come in and be like, oh, well, here, I want this list of 100 things that the other people who use our platform don't want. And that's always a hard thing, because then you got competing priorities. We really have not had that problem with those conversations. It's been a lot of the same, driving towards that same sort of clear to easy to use, and that the documents are clean and easy accessible.
Yeah,
I turn that around to you a little bit, Camille. Like how are you feeling that that's coming together with respect to the knowledge base, the help content, and the application workflows that you work on for the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we are doing such a drastic change from where we relaunched last year, right, to full circle. We have, incorporated so many changes from a really robust help center that will give you articles and tutorials, that we've really had to look at all these user groups and say, okay, what do we need for the employer, and what do we need for SaaS firms, and do they want everything from legal knowledge to just the product knowledge of how do I use this workflow and application. So we've compiled lots of resources there on help.bridge. And we've also gone through specifically to audit all of our applications to understand how are they functioning for our current users. What kind of maturity level are they at? What kind of new improvements do we need to make them more efficient, easier, more intuitive, so that people can actually get in there and not need as much help, not need as much hand-holding. Traditionally, Bridge has been a full service organization. So they've had a group of paralegals that will help them through the process and can answer all their questions through applications. Going to SaaS has been this transformation of how can you just get on and know what you need to do in the immigration process? How can your admin go on, no matter what level they're at, get the resources that they need or not, and be able to use the workflow at any level that they want, that they can use it from a document management perspective, or really go to this strategy perspective and start to understand how their data is working together. By the end of this year, it'll be huge to see the most used applications, the most popular applications is where we started first. So perm and green card, H-1Bs are very popular, L-1s, O-1s are starting to become very popular. So we focused on these primary applications first, and then we're also next tackling adjustment of status, family visas, all of these other ones, B1s, E1s that people can really utilize on their own. So it's been a very exciting time to be a part of Bridge. Again, I joined last year as well, and I think we've done a big push, but since the relaunch, there's been some great changes that are very exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, I've just been really impressed with both the work you've done and the work Jess has done on what you both were kind of just saying, that the alignment across these user roles, that when we're building the help content or streamlining a workflow or building out the onboarding process, it really isn't different goals for SaaS attorneys or partner attorneys or HR clients. It's really the same goal of clear and flexibility around their data or their program management.
Yeah, I think just sum it up for me. On top of the product stuff and on top of everything we're doing, I think having come in here and just for a year and seen how the team works, I think the one thing I love about our team is we are truly agile in the sense that we are kicking out stuff and making changes and making updates and solving problems quickly. If customers come to us and say they have an idea, a problem, something to solve, it's not something where we say, oh, well, that's 3 months down the roadmap. For the most part, we're fixing things. We're solving problems. We're making things happen. We're pushing code out on a regular basis. And it's not just we're pushing code out for the fun of it. We're driving towards this solution. We have this big goal that we're trying to get to, which is this really elegant solution that we see. Everyone's got this like vision in their head, and we're driving towards it every day. People who are writing knowledge base articles, people who are doing code, people who are designing, we're driving towards that goal. And it's not something that's like this mystical thing that's going to happen 6 months down the road. Every week we make a step towards getting closer and closer.
Yeah, really, like if you look back on the year since the two of you started last October, it's hundreds of releases, and both code releases, but also workflow updates. Like it's not, I think when sometimes people are comparing Bridge to other immigration case management solutions or other things, like I think one of the things that's hard to sum up is just how quickly the team does move and how efficiently we are able to deploy, whether that's a workflow change in response to a government form or the government rule changes as we've all been navigating this week, or whether it's a feature adjustment or improvement or expansion or something completely new, of course. But every week there's new things that the team is releasing to our customers, and that's one of my favorite parts about working here, is seeing us all continue to iterate on really making the best possible product.
Yeah, and it is such the nature of immigration. The changing landscape is incredible. It's quick.
Not all years are as crazy as this one. This is not. You should not benchmark 2020 as the standard for how much do you need to adjust the workflows or to the government rules. This is an exceptional year in many respects.
But to stay on top of that legislation is of our utmost priority and responsibility of compliance, and to make sure that it is that everything is accurate across the board. So thank you both for joining the interview. Is there either anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, I think this was great. Thanks for taking us through this, Camille.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you again. And we will follow up with more content on new releases and providing some other resources as we roll out. SaaS is very much in a beta spot right now, so we'll do another upcoming release when that goes and moves forward, and be able to talk more and do another Q&A. So thanks again.